Hey everyone, this is Bertram, and I'm so glad that you decided to join me today and speak about how each of us can get connected for renowned career opportunities. The thing is, and especially in this economy, it's going to be very hard for a lot of us to get employed or re-employed, especially for graduates and a recent college graduate, or those that are looking to just recently get some certifications and not have a lot of experience. We're entering a very hard economy right now. The coronavirus that started end of last year, earlier this year, has definitely impacted us in a major way. But I think it is really not even spoken about the effects that it's going to have on the new graduates and the recent graduates. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, each of you will realize why me, myself, Bertram Lansiquot, I'm so passionate about this. And one of the reasons is because I've been actually in the position that a lot of you are in right now, right? You're looking to graduate, or you have graduated, or you recently have had a certification and you've gone through all the testing and the things required for that. But then you enter the job market and it is a rude awakening. So I'm so glad that each of you have decided to join us here today. And this is the thing, we're going to go into some realistic strategies. I'm actually going to go through how each of us can get connected, the best practices that I myself, not just as a recruiter or recruiting professional or an agency owner or speaker, utilize in my day-to-day just for my professional networking, but also as a recent graduate, right? What steps did I take to actually really get hired? And this is also for a lot of you that may be tenured. This is also for those that may have experience. And let's say you want to go from a coding professional to auditing, or you want to look for your first management position. What can you do and how can you really get connected in today's market? And that's the thing. This presentation is so important. I would argue with anyone at H.I.M or at any of the levels how we can actually get connected and get really great and renowned career opportunities when we're not able to go to a traditional conference, right? This conference was scheduled to be on site. I was looking to get my tickets and meet a lot of you there. And then what did they say? Oh my goodness, we have to have things be virtual. But that's the thing, in today's economy with the technology that we have today, we can still get connected, we can still network, we can still get really great opportunities, and whether that's working from home, on site, or whatever the case may be. So my name is Bertram. I'm really glad that you decided to join me here today, and I really hope that this presentation is going to be beneficial to all of you, whether you have a lot of experience or just entering the job market. So a little bit about what we're going to talk about today is essentially the biggest threats to students and new graduates in today's economy, okay? And then we're also going to speak about who I am and just go into a little bit more about my background. And from there, we're going to talk about why everyone should get connected. I'm going to show you realistic and practical strategies that you can even utilize on your cell phone to build connections in any industry. And I'm going to go through my 3 Ps for those that are ready to make a change or just starting to make a change, and have a special gift for each of you who have decided to watch this entire presentation, okay? So the biggest challenges to students and new graduates in today's economy is that they have usually the highest unemployment rate in decades. Forbes actually published this study in November of last year, before everything got started, and even in today, and let's just say that the national unemployment rate is 13%. Okay, let's just say it's 13%. Let's say it's 30%, whatever the number is. It's usually double for new graduates. And Bertram, why would that be? And if you think about it practically, what it means is that you can actually have your certifications, you can have your degree, but then you enter the job market. And especially if the unemployment is high, what that means is there will be a lot of folks that may have experience that are willing to work at jobs a little bit below their skill set or experience level. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say it's an executive marketing position, okay, or an H.I.M analyst position. Minimum requirements, 3 years of experience, okay, perfect. But somebody may apply for that position that has 5 years experience, 10 years experience. With the way that things are now, and with application channels just being out there almost to the entire world, and with a lot of jobs, and more jobs will be pushed to remotely, it's so much easier for those applicants to see those jobs and apply to those jobs. And with the economy that we're entering in, I'm talking about post-COVID-19, we're going to see a lot more folks working remotely. Okay, we're going to see a lot more, I would say, national competition for jobs and opportunities. So the unemployment rate is usually double, and Forbes definitely published that study. And college graduates are more likely to be unemployed than all overall workers. Once again, it's more of a supply and demand. And this is the first time that this has happened in almost 30 years. And universities and unfortunately law schools do not align their curriculum of today's job market, including strategies on how to get connected. And I remember I did a similar presentation to a master's degree program and a graduate degree program with a lot of H.I.M students. And one of the professors of that group actually said, well, Bertram, the first or the last thing that I did similar to this about social networking, how we can get connected for great career opportunities, was 9 or so years ago. I think when websites like LinkedIn and Facebook first started coming out, it was very popular and they were sharing strategies on how we can get connected, but those platforms have changed. So the way that we can adapt and the strategies that we can use have also changed. And outside of the curriculum, enter the job market turns to be a rude awakening. And that's what happened to me. You know, a lot of us will go to school and we'll get the certifications, but then when we start applying to jobs, we find that we have other challenges that we did not foresee. And that is something that happened, to me personally. Okay. And we're going to get into that. So is anyone a fan of horror movies? And I'm talking about the cheesy 80s, early 90s horror movies, Jason, Freddy, Chucky, Child's Play, all of those things. What usually happened? There would usually some buff guy or somebody that had a lot of experience, right? And they felt that they can handle the monster, whatever that monster was. And that's how I felt as a recent college graduate. I went to school and for over 20 years, everyone told me, Bertram, it's what you know. So you have to get your degree. You need to get your certification, right? And after you have that degree, you're going to be able to go to the job market and you'll get a really good job after 10 years. You'll be able to buy the house of your dreams, get married, have the 2 kids, the dog, the cat, and, just do that until retirement at 60 or 65 years old, and you'll be a multimillionaire. Everything will be fantastic. So me, myself, I finally got my degree, right? I was actually the first within my family, my generation, to actually have my degree. My mom had her degree, but my brothers, for whatever reason, they couldn't get there. Later, they did, of course, go to school and they got their degree. So all of us knew what we needed to know, right? But then we entered the job market, and like a lot of you, I just kept on hitting a wall. You can't get a job without experience. You can't get a job without experience. You can't get a job without experience. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? And what I've realized is through building connections, and is actually knowing people, is by reaching out to people, is by reaching out to strangers, is by utilizing different strategies that no one will really tell you, is how we can all really get really fantastic opportunities. Okay. And, to go into a little bit more about my story, I was able to get employed as a marketing coordinator, and I had that job for a year. But then, that was back in 2007, 2008, and we all know and remember what happened back then. No matter how old you are when you're watching this time that we're in right now is bringing a lot of flashbacks to those times. And I think because of that, we've been able to respond a little bit better. There've definitely been a lot more churches, government facilities, and food shelters that have been able to kind of help a lot of people that have been in need. But back then it was a rude awakening. It was like, boom, stop, do not pass go, do not collect $200. So, we have to change our strategies. We have to adapt. We need to do things a little bit differently to get connected. And I think with a lot of us being essentially in a lockdown, safer at home orders, stay at home orders, whatever the case may be, now is definitely the best time for us to implement those strategies. But I'd like to go into a little bit more about my background so each of you could understand. So I entered the workforce in 2007 as a college graduate. From there, I went from being employed to unemployment. And around 6 months of that, I went to underemployment. And that's the thing, all during this time, I was applying to dozens, if not hundreds of jobs each and every week. And I wasn't just shooting my resume everywhere, but I was reading the job description. And probably like a lot of you, I was reading it as, well, either I have the experience to do it, or I am very capable of doing each and all of those things. So I'm going to apply. And they were within my skill set. But time and time again, I just kept on hitting a wall. So I found a job within healthcare, and because of everything that happened in 2007, I thought I should change my focus. I love marketing, I love connecting and networking and reaching out to people, but I thought I was working at a company, and I saw I kind of did a self-analysis of everybody's job. Right? I kind of made it my homework, not just to do my job, but really start to working on myself. And I just got connected with the recruiters. The recruiters in the office were making good money. They were all very young. Most of them were young, sorry. They were having a lot of fun. And I was like, wow, these guys really look happy. And I found out that, I had a lot of similar skill sets to the things that they were looking for that they had. So I thought, hey, maybe I can get involved in their recruiting career. But after 3 years of interviewing and hitting a wall, still at this time, I wasn't implementing a lot of getting connected strategies. But towards the end of that, I really did start networking and reaching out to recruiters, building a LinkedIn professional profile way back then. And then I was able to get a recruiting position. I was so passionate, and for those 3 years just being very hungry, I was able to change the corporate structure of the largest H.I.M staffing company based in Tampa, Florida, but they're also the biggest within the US for interim staffing, to incorporate social media into their daily recruiting practice. From there, I got recruited to start a recruiting team from scratch for a billion-dollar healthcare IT company. And then as of recent in 2008, I started my own recruiting agency. And this is just my little disclaimer. I am not here to recruit any of you. But since I had a very hard time to find a job, and I work with applicants, and the pain for me, even with me starting my own recruiting agency, my agency isn't big enough at the size that we can help, let's say, major employers with that may be more open to finding or helping those that may have a little bit more experience. But I see very common mistakes when it comes to resume formatting or poor formatting or too long resumes or just people that are applying for jobs that do not have the experience. Instead of just turning them away, I would like to turn them to a resource. I like to provide them something that may be able to help them get further along. So please understand, this is not for me to recruit anyone, but this is for me to provide each of you with the tips that you need to get connected. If you can apply these strategies, get a fantastic opportunity, and then message me and say, hey, Bertram, thank you for the tips, and I was able to get a job, I'll be super happy. And isn't that why we all got involved in healthcare? I knew a very long time ago, if I was going to get involved in healthcare, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a nurse. I'm actually very scared of needles. I can't even look whenever I have to get a shot, right? I can handle it, but I don't even want to look. But I thought I can help people in a different way. And with a lot of H.I.M professionals, it's the same thing that you're doing, right? You decided to get involved in healthcare, not just for the job security, but because you want to give back, but you're not going to be, performing surgeries on anyone. So with my video content, my Ask a Recruiter series, with me speaking with H.I.M, that's what it's really all about. I want to provide each of you the strategies because a lot of the information that's out there is so outdated. And it's interesting because within recruiting, I've not only been able to see the front end for applicants actually going through the system, I've also worked very closely with hiring managers, hundreds of hiring managers across the country as to what they're looking for and the pain points. And I'm telling you, a lot of the recent graduates and the people that I've helped really get really nice starting positions within their career, they had a connection. And I'm not talking about a special, hey, I happen to be like my dad is a golfing buddy with this CEO, so he got me a job. But I'm talking about like the skill set that person had, even if that's how they got introduced to the hiring manager, they did so fantastic. So it wasn't just a special favor for a friend, but it was like, hey, I happen to know this person and I know them for this. So we're going to be speaking about that in a little while, but that's why I'm super passionate about helping each and every one of you get connected for Renown Career Opportunities. And we will continue. So can each of you recognize all of these social media platforms? Okay. And I'll give you a minute and we'll start naming them off. So we have Facebook. Okay. We have LinkedIn. We have Skype. We have Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, and WhatsApp. Now, these social media platforms, they do social media in different ways, but it's really all the same thing. And it's really different ways for us to get connected. It's different ways for us to present ourselves. And this is the big thing that I love about social media, everyone. Okay, please pay attention. What I love about social media is that for the first time, okay, in history of the human race, we are able to control the narrative. Okay, listen to me. For the first time in history, each of us are able to control the narrative. Before, if you wanted to get social, if you wanted to advertise your skill set, what your company does, the new book that you've written, any of those things, the movie that you're going to promote, right? The only way to do it was to get on a popular news channel, okay, or talk show, or Dr. Phil, Oprah, something like that. You had to get on TV essentially. But now TV is what is it doing, everyone? TV is going to the social media platforms. It's going online. You know, the children that some of us may have, they're probably not going to have a traditional TV box, right? It's just going to be all through the internet. And I'm talking about like the Netflix, like, 20 years from now, whatever. But we all see that happening. And what I mean by we can each control the narrative, now the news station can say, hey, Bertram Lansiquot is the CEO and founder of this, but on my channels, on my YouTube, on my Instagram, I can communicate to my group, to my fans, to my followers, to my friends, to my connections. They all call it something different, but it's all the same thing. It's all connections, right? I can communicate with them what's going on personally, professionally. I can advertise, I can market myself, I can share my resume. So this is the first time that this has ever happened. But before, we had to get on a popular news channel and we had to cry our hearts out. But now we can do it in so many different ways. We can create content around it. And that's what I love about social media. And I know a lot of folks are saying, well, Bertram, what about me, right? Like I'm a little bit different. We're going to be getting into that a little bit later, probably on the next slide. Like I'm a little bit older, Bertram. So let's see. And let's just kind of look at the breakdown when it comes to social media usage. So in the world's population, we have around 7.6 billion people, and around 5 billion people have mobile phones, okay? And more than half of those people, or the world's population, actually utilize the internet. And 3.4, right, a little bit less than half, are active social media users. And I believe that when they mean active, I think they mean like at least checking once a week, or even, let's say, a couple times a month. So these people are active. They're at least checking. They're actually going there. And so many people utilize it for, just for being social with other people, not just checking, but actually communicating with other people and posting content. So the penetration within social media around the world, right, not just within the US, is huge. And that's what I love about the internet. You're not just communicating with people that we know or we would happen to know within our media network, but we're also connecting with people around the world, right? You can have connections, as I do, let's say in South Korea. And if we post about, hey, we've started a new business, or we're bringing a child, or we're open to career opportunities, those individuals will see that as well. Okay, so things are definitely changing. And this is the big thing we have to remember, everyone. And I think you've never heard it put in this way. Okay, and I would say in today's economy, it's not what you know, it's not the degree or the certification, or who you know. Let's say you know the president of H.I.M, right? Let's say you know, or they know you, right? Oh, like, yeah, I happen to know Bertram, like he's the neighbor of Bill Gates, right? But it's who knows you. Okay, and let me say this again. It's not what you know or who you know, but who knows you. Well, Bertram, don't those last two things sound very similar, but they mean essentially the same thing? No, they do not. Let me explain. What you know is by you having your degree. And before, we were in a jobs economy, essentially. Everyone's like, hey, Bertram, get the degree, right? Get the certification, and you're going to be able to get a job. But now, with so many people having certifications, with a lot of these education programs being remote, we have a lot more competition for it, right? And what about the people that have experience, especially for those who may have less experience? And not exactly, let's say you've been a coder, H.I.M professional for many years, but you're just now trying to get into auditing. You're going to have a lot of competition with auditing applicants as well that have that experience in those certifications, okay? Or who you know, right? Like, hey, I happen to know, like, President Obama. Like I can know him, right? And I can know him for many things, and we can know each other for a long time. But what I mean by, but who knows you, President Obama is really only going to be able to help me or my business or my career, or President Trump, right? If they happen to know that Bertram is a really good recruiter, Bertram's a really good H.I.M professional, Bertram's a really dynamic and influential speaker, there's a difference. Because with us knowing people, doesn't necessarily help us get opportunities. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to reach out to us and say, hey, can you help me? I'm starting a team of recruiting professionals. I got that job opportunity because a coworker of mine was talking with a good friend of his that was a vice president of a company. And he said, hey, do you happen to know anybody that's really good in recruiting? And he said, I only have one person in mind, and his name is Bertram. He's a rock star. Everybody that he hires, retains their positions. He does a lot of social media. He's very forward thinking. I think you should think about this individual. And when the job came available, I kid you not, I'm not just bragging or boasting about myself. They did not have any other applicants. They just reached out to me. They actually called me at my work and said, Bertram, we'd like to speak with you. And I was like, okay, how can I help you? And they said, Bertram, we want to bring you on board with our team. And after a few more conversations and an on-site interview, they convinced me as well. It came from me actually being really known and well known as a recruiter for me to get that career opportunity. And unfortunately, a lot of us are doing really good work and we're doing so many great things for our organizations, but we're not utilizing communication channels to help other people know what we're doing. We're not helping other people know how well we are doing in our positions. And this is not just about self-promotion. And you have to understand, the internet is like the ocean. And even if you post every single day, you're only going to drop a drop of water in that ocean. But a lot of us think that we just drop one drop of water and it's going to be ink, is going to be everywhere. We're spamming everybody. But I'm telling you, a lot of the decision makers and the people that are really the influential folks within our industries utilize those channels because they realize that that's the way that they can communicate. And I've seen so many people that would like to say, have high up positions. For example, within HIMA, they've utilized social media as well as offline strategies to get those positions that they were looking to get or to make those connections. Quite honestly, me speaking with each of you today, it's also happened from online and offline social media presence. I was at the National HIMA show last year in Chicago. I had a wonderful time. And I rode the bus with someone, and they looked kind of familiar, but I couldn't really put the face to the name. I'm always checking my LinkedIn and stuff. And I happened to realize that this person was a president for one of the state association groups. And we were both actually looking at the HIMA show floor. We're both looking at a presentation and we're like, oh, I rode in next to you on the bus. What's your name? Oh, what's your name? Oh, yes, Bertram, I've seen you. And I was finally able to put face to the name and we just started talking. And I was like, hey, well, you're the president of the association. Is there any way that I can help? I talk about how students can get really great opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, yeah, Bertram, send me a LinkedIn message and I'll send the information off to the educators that I know. And that talk led to another talk that led to another talk that has led to this talk. Like you just kind of follow the trail and just things continue to happen. And that's the thing. And please understand, I am no one special. I'm just somebody that's really passionate about this topic. And for a lot of you, just sharing your passions and just the things that you're going through to get your certifications, your degrees is going to help you land those career opportunities. Because this is what we all know, but we all do not want to really help other people to know or understand. We all love to work with people that we know. Okay, for anyone who's been employed, right, and let's say in a more desk position or on a computer kind of thing, what happens when you first get the email that somebody has been hired on board to your team? Congratulations, we have hired Bertram Lansiquot as our latest HR professional. The very first thing that you do is you Google the person's name. And if that person doesn't show up, then you put it on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Because we're interested, we want to know. And it's the same thing when it comes to speaking. It's the same thing for when we want to hire people for many jobs. We want to know the people, and we like to know the people that we are going to be working with. And think about the whole interviewing process. What's the whole interviewing process about? To check out boxes that you have this experience and you've done this and you live in this area and you can do these things? It's to get to know you, not just as an applicant, not just as a professional, but as a person as well. So getting connected for Renown Career Opportunities is not really reinventing the wheel, everyone. It's just more looking at that wheel differently and applying some different strategies that we can still utilize that wheel to take us to the destinations and the career paths that we're looking to tread. Okay? So not to bore you, but I will continue. And please understand that social media is for everyone. I remember, when Facebook first came out and Twitter, what did everyone say? Oh, that's just for young people. And usually that is true at the beginning. Usually the younger generation are the first to adapt new strategies, new technologies, right? When Snapchat first came out, okay, I'll be honest with you. I'm not essentially on there just yet, but it was a younger generation that gravitated on there. But then what happened? As these platforms get more mature and they're in more popular usage, more people join them. Think about Twitter, right? Some people have probably signed off Twitter and said, I'm never going to use Twitter again. And our current President Trump, utilized Twitter, and he still utilizes it on a daily basis, multiple times, to communicate, right, with his followers, to communicate to the media, and to communicate with his fellow politicians and to the world about what's serious to him. And the interesting thing about President Trump, despite his age, he's pretty savage on social media and on Twitter. I mean, he retweets, he knows how to like use caps in the right places. I mean, Trump can probably have a whole presentation on how he utilizes social media. And the interesting thing about social media and the Trump organization, I know there've been a lot of reasons why people said that he got into office. But one of the things that his team did and President Trump did that other Democrats and competitors didn't do during the last election was Facebook Live. Essentially, what he was able to do, he was able to say, hey, these town halls that we're having, and we're having such a great time, and the media saying that not so many people are showing up, and there's this line of people that can't wait to get in the building, and it's filled, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not here talking about political issues. I'm just talking about the use of social media and how it can help us. Okay, he was able to utilize Facebook Live for the constituents and for the voters who couldn't make it to those rallies or didn't want to actually show up at a rally or just get through the line and go through all of that rigmarole, to have it at home. So they can still support him. They can still learn about his thoughts and what he plans to do and what he plans to change. It's social media that's really changing the world that we live in, everyone. Okay? And with the way that things are going, I mean, come on, how much more powerful is it going to be to have a really strong social media presence for all of us, especially if you're looking to get renowned career opportunities? And I think really one of the only regrets that I have when I look back at my career is that I did not utilize social media to help push some of my agenda topics a little bit more. And not politically, but I'm talking about when I won awards for the highest recruiter, right? And the most recruits that I made within a year, or when I won, incentive trips from the company. I didn't post those things because I thought, hey, I'm just going to be, showing or bragging, right? And it's not necessarily to brag, but you should communicate with your association. You should communicate with your peers if things are going well for you and if a company has done well for you. As much as it would have been, let's say, bragging rights for me, it would have been bragging rights for my company. Hey, they've recognized and they actually give these types of trips, right? There's some companies, if you work for them long enough and if you do well, they'll give you a Rolex watch. I'm not saying that that's a pinnacle of success, but that also helps the company. That also shows the company invest in recognition for their employees. And I mean, and if you're going to work anyway for years, why don't get a nice watch for it? But I digress. But please understand that social media is for everyone. So please, don't walk into this saying, oh, I'm too young, I'm too old for this. I'm telling you, you can utilize steps, and you can even start right now. You can even start today to help you build. So let's say you don't even happen to really need a career opportunity right now. You can start building your presence. You can start building and planting those seeds. So if something happens, that you can be more prepared for it. And that's one of my biggest things and things that I tell when I do my Ask the Recruiter video series. Okay. It's about, a lot of people are like, well, Bertram, I don't want to put myself out there because I am good. I don't want recruiters reaching out to me, right? A lot of people that entered 2020 thought the same thing. And then all of a sudden, the whole world was shut down, essentially. We couldn't even necessarily go to the grocery store as free as we used to. We couldn't, go to church. We couldn't go to school. We couldn't do a lot of those things. But imagine if we already had the seeds planted or we already had a strong social media following that we can leverage those relationships to say, hey, unfortunately, I've been furloughed. Unfortunately, I've been made redundant, but I have a little book or I have a few connections of recruiters I can reach out to for career opportunities. And that's the thing. Even the most jobs that we would think, hey, it's mostly done on site. Let's say, for example, restaurant workers. I happen to know and be connected with restaurant working recruiters. I happen to know some recruiters that I've worked with in the past within H.I.M. Now they do employment for various gas stations and very big corporations around the US. It's about us just having a network that we can reach out to when something like this happens. So if you were not able to prepare a little bit better with your social media, just in case, and plant some seeds and have some connections with recruiters, hiring managers, your fellow H.I.M professionals, as to people that you can connect with, now would be the perfect time to start, everyone. So now we get into the strategies to build connections. And the first is to get social. So I would highly recommend each of you to create and complete your profile. So there's not really a smooth way to do this, everyone, but I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna share a different screen. All right, so here we are. So this is my LinkedIn profile, and it's super easy. LinkedIn actually walks you through as to what you should do to complete your profile. And essentially, you want to get to your all-star status. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean that you post very often or anything like that, but it means that you've completed your profile. You've gone through and you've added a nice picture. You've added a little tagline. You have your location and all of these things. And then the nice thing that I like about LinkedIn is that you can essentially copy and paste a lot of your resume information to complete your career history. And you know what I love about LinkedIn, everyone, especially for those that are looking for career opportunities? LinkedIn is powered by keyword search. Now, Bertram, what does that mean? What that means is if I'm looking for, let's say, an HR professional, an inpatient coder in Tampa, if I input inpatient coder in Tampa, it's going to pop up. Now, why is that very important? For those that are looking for renowned career opportunities, you can connect with folks that are in the positions that you would like to work for. You can also connect with hiring managers, as another example, coding managers within your local or national networks, okay? Or H.I.M professionals within a HIMA, or presidents, past presidents, delegates, and all of these different positions, right? You can connect with these people on LinkedIn. And as you follow them and as you engage with them, as you like and you comment on their information and the things that they post, you will learn what's most interesting to them. They will share as to when they're going to different events. You can reach out and say, hey, I'm going to be at that conference as well. Can we meet up 6 feet apart or whatever for coffee, or can we just talk? We have the tools available to us right now to help us get to know the people that we need to know. And I know the biggest difference, and what I love the difference between LinkedIn and Facebook, is that when Facebook is for really people that ideally, you want to know, because you're going to be getting into some very personal details about people's lives on a daily basis. LinkedIn is so professional. There are most people that would prevent or not post a lot of personal stuff. So it's really going to be about stuff that's important to their work, affecting their companies or association related things or events that they're going to be at. So if you're looking to find out where the decision makers are, you can essentially follow their trail. You can also utilize LinkedIn to look at people's career history, so you can find out how they got from this position to that position to the position that you like to be in. Okay? So LinkedIn is a very good tool for that. And if you'd not like to get, let's say, reached out by so many recruiters and those types of things, you can change your privacy settings. You can change your message settings. And if a recruiter ever reaches out to you on another side note and you're not actively looking for opportunities, please respond that, hey, thank you for reaching out. I'm not actively looking for opportunities, but keep that person's information on file, right? Not advertise myself or my business. But what I'm saying is you can have that on file just in case something like COVID-19 happens, or massive layoff, you're not working. It'd be nice for you to have those contacts, have those Rolodex of people that you can reach out to. Okay, so as I said, it doesn't have to be anything for me in my business, but definitely for each of you, it's definitely helpful for you to have those contacts just in case. And the nice thing about LinkedIn is that at first we can get connected with people that we know. Okay, so hey, I happen to know this person at this company, or we'll work at this company together. Through this search, you can, message people and connect with people that you know. From there, you want to connect with people that you would like to know. You want to connect with hiring managers that you would like to know. Let's say, as I said, Tampa, coding manager. It will show us the coding managers that are within the Tampa area. Some that you're connected to, some that you're not connected to. It also shows you who you are, who you have as shared connections. So I can reach out to Sandra and say, hey, Sandra, I'd love to be introduced to Carrie. Can you provide me an introduction? It will also post jobs for coding manager positions if that's what you're ideally looking for. I'm telling you, like it's so much easier now because think about it. Before websites like LinkedIn, you didn't find out who that connection was or who that person was until you actually got that job interview. Okay, you could even build a network essentially. Like, hey, I want to work for this hospital, and what would you have to do? You would essentially have to apply to jobs or ask everybody within your immediate person-to-person network, do you know anybody working at that hospital, and then try to get in there. Now you can find out exactly who that person is, reach out to them, um, take them for lunch, have a virtual meeting, virtual coffee, whatever it is, or participate in a virtual meeting with them, or association meeting, and get to build that relationship. And them knowing you as somebody that's really hungry and looking for those opportunities, and you're just looking to help out any which way that you can within that department, that's going to help you get the jobs. 20 years ago, those tools were not there. We only found out on the fly, right? I've gone to some interviews in the past, early in my career, and they said, hey, Bertram, this is a hiring manager. This is the person you're going to be meeting. And I met with that person. I did all the research, what school they went to. I shook their hand. Everything's great. And then the person says, well, Bertram, I'm just your first interviewer. I'm just the first person. You're going to be meeting with 2 more people. And I thought to myself, that's great. But now I do not know who my hiring manager is. I do not know who the person was I was supposed to impress. And then it actually ended up being the last person because she said, well, Bertram, I am the hiring manager. I was totally in the dark, right? We do not like to be in the dark. We like to know. And utilizing tools like LinkedIn will help us know. And then I would highly suggest for each of us to connect with 10 or so people a day. Okay. What I like about LinkedIn is that utilizing their AI, it helps us see the people that we've likely worked with at the same time. And also, hey, you have a lot of similar connections. Maybe you happen to know Brandy or Sandy or Greg. Okay. And this is how you can really build your network. And if you reach out and if you generally connect with, let's say, 10 or so people a day, 10 is my magic number, you'll realize over time that you're going to have quite a few connections. And by having those connections and by you being active and let's just say sharing content, posting about where you're at or what you're doing or what you're looking for, there are a lot of people that have gone on LinkedIn and say, hey, due to COVID-19, I'm immediately looking for an opportunity. If anybody happens to know anyone that can help, please let me know. And they've gotten job opportunities just by them putting themselves out there. But they had their network, they had the seeds planted so they can reach out to those seeds to utilize them. Okay. So just like farming everyone, we have to plant the seeds way ahead of time before we're able to reap the benefits and for that tree to bear that fruit. So just be active and just have a daily practice. And what I love about this, everyone, is that we can do that right now on our phones. Just after you do everything that you need to do in the morning, you can just, let's say, get on your phone on the LinkedIn app and connect with 10 or so people. It is super easy to do that. Okay, here you go. The same screen that I just showed you. It's right here. And these are people that you would like to know. And I know a lot of folks are like, well, Bertram, I don't want to just connect with random strangers just in case I need a job opportunity. All the friends that we happened to meet back in grade school, high school, college, remember, they were all strangers too before we had an introduction or we spoke up in front of the class or we had a group assignment and we had a chance to introduce ourselves. We're just introducing ourselves to these individuals. And it's not to use anyone. You can also utilize these social media platforms to give back, right? From the amount of people that I've hired, it's hundreds. I'm now trying to help hundreds of people get really great opportunities. Because at one point, it's not just about you, it's about the people that you're going to serve. And I'm sure that could resonate with each of you. So those are the online strategies that I would apply today if we're looking to get connected socially for career opportunities. And please understand, I am not a LinkedIn spokesperson. I'm not paid by LinkedIn. I actually pay quite a bit of money to utilize the platform for recruiting purposes, but it's a free service that each of us can use for really great career opportunities. So why shouldn't we take advantage of it? All right. So I'm going to go back and go to my slideshow. All right. And please, everyone, let us not underestimate the power of taking those relationships offline. Before and maybe after COVID-19, it was so great and fantastic to be able to meet people. And what I love about today is that we don't just have to be totally online. I know we have to probably be online and virtual for a little while, right? But we don't have to be just totally offline and just have to meet people face to face. You can utilize social media to find out who's going to be at these conferences, connect with them, connect with decision makers, find out how you can volunteer, how you can participate. And that can also lead to a lot of opportunities. One thing that I highly suggest for each of you that are, let's say, new grads, and you are looking to really build your network and build some really strong relationships, is to volunteer at your local or state level HIMA, just to see how you can participate and how you can help out in any way, shape, or form. That's how we can build relationships. And it's not just so that you can get a job or you can get something later, but also how you can give back. And I remember I connected with one person actually in your area. I'm not going to say who. And it was so interesting. This person said, well, Bertram, I was actually volunteering at one of my local associations. And they were doing everything, and they're one of the people, like, when you're at a HIMA and you don't know like the Wi-Fi password, and even though they say it's this, it doesn't work. She was a person you had to find out what the password was, right? Or for her to try it for it to magically work. So she was running around the show, helping everybody, making sure the vendors are okay, the speakers, and everything's going fantastic. But she was doing it with such enthusiasm and such pride, right? And so happy that one of the vendors just asked and said, "Hey, you're doing such a fantastic job, man. I just love your energy. Like, what's your job?" And she said, "I actually do not have a job. I reached out and I just wanted to volunteer. I was hoping to network, but I've been so busy. I've just been doing a fantastic job doing my volunteer work. I'm just passionate about H.I.M and everything." And they said, "Hey, after everything is done, because I know you're working right now, let's have a conversation." And would you know, from them just volunteering at a local show, they were able to get a job and still work for that company today. Meeting strangers, putting yourselves out there, both socially and in person, can help each of us get those career opportunities. And maybe that wasn't the exact job that they're looking for, but who knows where that's going to end up. A lot of us that start our careers, and this is what I realize, and I know a lot of folks are like, well, don't quit on your dreams and all of those things. But what if you find a new dream? What if you find a better dream, right? When I first started, I wanted to be a marketer and I wanted to do all those things. And now, in me starting my own recruiting agency, I can still market either as jobs and opportunities. I can still network. I can still do a lot of things I was looking to do as a business executive, as a marketer. And the nice and the blessing thing about this job and what I do is that I'm able to also do it at home, like a lot of you H.I.M professionals. I found a better dream. So I wouldn't look at it as quitting the dream or giving up on the dream, but perhaps you may find a better dream after you get involved in the job market. And some of the people that you like to know, and some of those hiring managers that you love to connect with on social media, some of them are picky enough to only connect with people that they know. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but that's just how it is for some people. And some folks change from their online to offline selves. I remember I was working with this one hiring manager, great guy, a lot of experience. He worked a lot of hours. I'm talking like 80 hours easily every week. And what he would do, he was in IT, he would spend all day managing his team and what they're doing. And they had a lot of sprints, they would call it. These are essentially tests for the applications that they were developing for the clients that really generated a lot of revenue for the company I was working with. And he would manage his team all day, and then at night he would spend time coding. Like, he was a master coder for the team. So when the team couldn't figure it out, he would look at it, he would twinkle on his computer for a little while, and he can find out exactly what it was. Like, he was that good. But working with the HR and the recruitment team, he was nothing but a savage, everyone. The guy was mean, for lack of a better word. All right. He wasn't as easy to work with. But I happened to meet him at a company event that we were doing in Atlanta, and he was like a big teddy bear. He totally changed. And after us meeting, and I didn't confront him about anything or anything. We didn't have like tension like that. But after meeting him, he was a lot more pleasant. We've definitely been able to keep our very professional relationship, you know. So a lot of people change from online to offline, and I'm more talking about the positives. I'm more talking about, hey, they're hard to get a hold of, but when you actually meet them, they're like, hey, Bertram, I know you reached out to me on LinkedIn like 10 times, but I'm never on there, so please forgive me. But yes, let's set up a time to talk. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about a business deal. There's a gentleman that I know that I've worked with in the past. And this gentleman has all my contact information. We've connected on social media, of course, all of those things. I was at a local show at the state level, and he's like, hey, Bertram, I've been wanting to talk to you. We actually need this for our company. Can you help us? I said, yeah, of course. So can you reach out to an HR person? I think you have their information, and let's see what we can do together. Just from me being at the show was able to help my company get that opportunity. So I think for a lot of you, just being at the show, just being in person, just networking and communicating with them is going to help us get a lot of opportunities. Okay. Yes, we have to interact. Yes, we have to introduce ourselves. Yes, we have to speak. Oh my goodness, God forbid, right? But doing those things is gonna help us in the long run, or just an introduction. And yes, it may take a little bit of time, right? We have to be patient with the process, but eventually we will get there. All right. So here are my 3 P's for those ready to make a career change. We have to be patient. Please understand, everyone, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. I probably wish somebody had told me these 3 P's and this first one. I was so ready once I graduated, or for some of you, once you have that certification, right? And that's all that you've needed. And you thought it was going to be your ace. You thought it was going to be your trump card. And then you get to the marketplace, and the marketplace is like, congratulations, but how can I help you? Right? It's going to take time, right? And we have to be patient. So I'm not saying that we're not going to get those opportunities. We're not going to get those job opportunities and career opportunities that we're looking for. We're not going to make those connections, but it's going to take time. We have to be patient with the process. We all have heard that there's a national nursing shortage, right? I've been able to speak with enough professionals from different industries within healthcare. And I would suggest for you to do the same thing, to find out exactly when they got their career opportunity that made the break for them. Okay. I was speaking to a nurse, and she said, well, Bertram, you know that and I spoke, oh, what about your career? How hard did it, you shouldn't have had any difficulty finding a job, because a lot of H.I.M graduates or people that have certifications, it takes them a while. They keep on hitting that wall, right? How can we get a job if we don't have experience, kind of thing. And she said, well, Bertram, even though there's a national shortage, it still took me 6 months to get a nursing job. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And you know how she was able to get the job? She was working at that hospital. It still took her 6 months. And she had to kind of network her way in to finding out and identifying and waiting for them to have an opening for her to get a job at that very hospital. So not only having the degree, right, or being licensed with the state, also working at the facility and building a relationship with those individuals that work within the department was able to help her get that job opportunity. So this is not just for recruiting. This is not just for coding and HR professionals. This is really for everyone. Everyone needs to get connected. We need to know someone. We need to build those relationships. And this is the thing. We're not asking for special service, right? We're only asking for us to have an opportunity to interview, as other applicants will. And if they feel that we will be a good or better fit than other individuals, to give us the job opportunity for us to prove ourselves. That's all we're really asking for. We have to be professional, everyone. I've seen so many folks do the exact opposite when things do not go their way, or when, like, for example, I've heard stories of individuals going to facilities that they've applied to, and because they didn't get the job, they went to the facility demanding the copy of their resume being deleted from their system, right? Or they had a very long interview process and they didn't get the job, and they were very unprofessional to the hiring manager, or they're interviewing for multiple opportunities. They accepted a job and then they just ghosted everyone, or they didn't show up for an interview. You have to realize, and I'm telling you from an HR perspective, when you're interviewing for an opportunity, you'll be meeting a lot of people, and a lot of folks will happen to know who you are. Meaning, yes, you may be meeting with Sally, but Greg, John, and 5 other executives are going to know that you're supposed to be meeting with Sally. And the minute you blow Sally off, meaning you just do not show up, you ghost her, those other 5 executives know. And I'm very sorry to tell you, everyone, that those executives go to other companies and they recognize somebody's name and they just say, hey, sorry, but you do not want to hire this person. Or when somebody leaves a job and they do not work at a full 2 weeks notice, same thing happens. More than one person knows, and then it prevents them from getting job opportunities in the future. So especially for each of you that may be graduates, right? And you're just starting your career, no matter what happens, I'd highly suggest for you to be professional. Yes, I also know that companies may not be professional. I've been asked not to work on my 2 weeks notice. When I gave my 2 weeks notice and I did everything professional, and an email was sent to the company, effective immediately, Bertram was no longer working for the company. But they didn't communicate to the company that Bertram found another great career opportunity, and he tenured his resignation, and he was willing to work at his 2 weeks notice. But an email was sent out almost making it look like I was terminated, right? I understand how those things may happen. But what I'm saying is that we can only control the way that we act. And for those who need to know, they're going to know, right? Like if you work at a company for 3 years and that type of an email makes people think that you're unprofessional and that people should not work with you, then let it be on them, okay? But a lot of times what will happen, and just from my experience, personal and professional, when people happen to know how you work and the type of person that you are, and you always show up on time, just as an example, when things like that happen, they just dismiss them. And like, you know what, well, maybe they found another opportunity, or you communicate through social media, control the narrative again, everyone. This is how we're able to do it, through social media. Thank you for the great opportunity at former company, but I'm now working and I'm super excited to help transform the culture at new company. You're able to control the narrative, right? So not about getting in our feelings, and just remember to treat everything as professional as you can. And yes, if you do get a job opportunity and you just feel that you cannot pass it up, please communicate with the individuals that, unfortunately, I'm not able to continue the interview process. Nobody's saying that you cannot turn down a job or you have to go through the whole steps. If you already found something, that's fantastic. But just communicate. We just have to communicate, okay? And once again, if they do not take it as professional, at least you've tried. If you put in your 2 weeks notice and they don't take it as you were hoping, that's okay. That's on them. But you just have to do your best, okay? And be persistent. Just because it's hard doesn't mean we should quit. It took me 3 years to get a recruiting position. 3 years. And I was so blessed once I got that position. I was able to get a position to be on the producing floor of the recruiters. And that's what really made all the difference and really helped me propel my career. But the thing is, even if it took me 3 years to get a very entry-level lead generation recruiting position, I would have done the same thing, because I wasn't asking for any special service. All I was asking for was an opportunity to prove myself. So you have to be persistent. And I know a lot of folks are like, well, it's taking me so long to get a certification, or it's taking me so long to get a job and a degree. You know, I would like for each of you to think about this. As long as you get to the destination, what does it really matter how long it takes you to get there? And I'm at least a little bit older than some of you. And just a word from the wise. Achieving the goal, or actually getting the perfect life or the perfect job that you're looking for, is not as fun as you're thinking, as actually going and the path to get there. Have you ever wanted to go to a destination, Disney World, right? You wanted to go get that really nice food, or you wanted to be at that restaurant again, or whatever the case is. You really wanted something, right? You couldn't wait for it. You couldn't breathe without it. You needed it. But then once you got there, you're almost like, well, this is cool, but has that ever happened to you? It's the same thing. And just because I was able to have that experience and the 3 or so years of hardship, but then once again, starting a new career, and then, really utilizing social media to help me get there, now I'm able to have some speaking content for each of us to talk about today. So the journey was not only beneficial for me, hopefully it's been beneficial for each of you, for me to share my experience with each of you, for each of you to get really nice opportunities as well. So you have to be persistent. And whether it's going to take 1 year or 3 years, I would highly suggest for you to find out why the universe, God, our maker, Allah, whoever, Buddha, put that dream in your heart for you to get on this path, for you to find out why you're able to do it. You know, H.I.M and recruiting in H.I.M has helped not only me, but my family in so many ways. Every time we've had a challenge, we've had to travel or do different things, the ability to work remotely, even like times like now, the ability to work remotely has been so beneficial for me personally and professionally, to keep me working at times like this. I'm speaking with each of you at times like this. I wouldn't have imagined, right, that 3 years of hardship would have led to 10 plus years of ultimate bliss and a lot of opportunities. So I would highly suggest each of you just to get started, keep on going and doing what you need to do. All right. So this is my gift to each of you. And thank you so much for watching and just participating and, being, hopefully getting connected for Renowned Career Opportunities. This is my gift to each of you. I like to offer each of you a free resume or a LinkedIn profile critique. So we are willing to put ourselves out there, right? We're going to go ahead and build a LinkedIn profile, right? That is fantastic. But you want to know if it looks good, or let's say you have a really good LinkedIn profile. That's great. But would you like some professional assistance, or at least a quick review or critique of your resume? Could I provide you some great pointers, right? There's a difference between a resume and a CV. Do you know the difference? And do you know when you should apply each, right? So this is something that could be helpful for you. And please understand, in my business, we do not do LinkedIn profile critiques. We do not do resume reviews for free. But I feel because you have watched this entire presentation, how can I give back, and how can I connect with each of you on a very personal and professional level, right? And how can you start applying the things that we talked about today, right? Okay, I created my LinkedIn profile, Bertram. Who should I connect to? Connect with me. So send me a connection request on LinkedIn, okay? And this is the thing, do not use an InMail. The reason why is that you want to save those InMails, and InMails are essentially your free pass to message anyone on LinkedIn. So let's say you want to message Bill Gates, you can utilize an InMail to do that, okay? But the thing is that you may really only have one particular person that you're looking to connect with. Let's say there's only like one high up H.I.M director at that local facility. You want to save those InMails for that. People like recruiters, more people that are, let's say, a little bit less than executive level, working the position, just send them a connection request. And after you connect with them, then you can send them a free LinkedIn message. But do not utilize your InMails, your special connection messages to anyone, even if they're not a connection, just to people because you like to be introduced to them. Okay, save those for the hiring managers and the people that can essentially change your life. Okay, so send me a LinkedIn connection request. And then message me with the hashtag just to help me understand that you actually watched this presentation, hashtag #BeRenown, okay? And the reason why I love the hashtag #BeRenown is because what not only helped me really get fantastic career opportunities and the ability to speak with each of you today is not just by having a LinkedIn profile, but it's because I've done very well and I perform very well as a recruiter. It's because I really try my best to be a dynamic and influential speaker and give back to the communities that I've served or have served me for so many years, right? We have to do really good work. That way, when people are thinking, hey, who's the H.I.M professional I want to hire for my analyst position? Oh, yes, Stacy. Because whenever I work with Stacy and she works in the same or similar position, she really does a fantastic job, right? Nobody wants to work with average Joe. I'm sorry, Joe, but nobody wants to work with average Joe. Everyone wants to work with superstar Joe, all-star Joe, the one that's always showed up and done a fantastic job. That's how we will get remembered in the back of our minds. And then when people need something, they're going to come back and say, I know the person that I need to look for. And this is the whole, not what you know, not who you know, but who knows you for that really strong skill set that you have, or the great work that you're able to do, that when they're looking to build a team, replace somebody, or somebody is furloughed and needs to be hired back, they can't hire that person, they got another job, hopefully they think of you. And yeah, just either send me your resume or ask me to review your LinkedIn profile. And as I said, this is a free gift, right? Even if you like to pay money, I cannot accept it because I don't have a way of accepting it, and I only work with health systems and the designated clients that we work with to help them find great talent. So it's just a free gift to each of you. So once again, my name is Bertram Lansiquot. I really appreciate each of you, watching this presentation, and hopefully you've been able to go through the handout and answer how each of us can get connected for Renown Career Opportunities. This COVID-19. I'm telling you, everyone, it's a fantastic opportunity because what it does allow is, for a lot of people to go to a state show, right, as an example, or a national show. It was always you had to be there in person. For the very first time, the same people that you like to connect with is going to be virtual. And you can do that from, the safety of all of our homes. So I'd highly encourage each of you to try your best to get involved with HIMA, support your HIMA groups, not just by attending shows like this, but also by volunteering and seeing how you can help out. And if there's somebody within your network, or let's say you have experience, right? Try to connect with people that have a little bit less experience with you than you, and try your best to help them get started, right? Try to refer somebody for a career opportunity. Okay. So this is Bertram. It's been a pleasure to talk with each of you. And I hope each of you have a wonderful time. Stay safe. I'll talk with each of you soon. Be renowned. Bye-bye.